Hey guys, I'm Marky Mark. There's an explosion and everything and an oil spill. I gotta take care of this. Optimus! I tried, guys. I tried to do a heightened Mark Wahlberg impression. It didn't really work. I'm sorry. Just forget about that. Anyway, hey there guys, what's up? It's Marky Mark here. No, I'm kidding, guys. It's Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another movie review. Guys, it's been a week or two since I've done a normal movie review in my normal surrounding. Feels good to be back. And I got the chance to see a movie this weekend, guys. I was lucky. Had a free hour and a half to watch this movie. I'm glad I got to see it. And of course, guys, the movie I'm going to be reviewing in this video for you is Deepwater Horizon. Deepwater Horizon is Mark Wahlberg's newest film, and it is from director Peter Berg. That's right, Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg have teamed up once again after their work on Lone Survivor for Deepwater Horizon. And guys, I'm going to be honest, I was pretty excited for this movie. I wasn't like, it was on my list of most anticipated, for sure. It wasn't like way high up on the list. There were definitely elements of the trailer that made it feel like it was going to be like one of those generic survival tales, but I was genuinely at the same time interested to see an adaptation of this major disaster that only happened 6 years ago. 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago. So I was just genuinely intrigued to see where this movie would go. It had been getting pretty decent reviews, so now I'm here to talk about it for you guys, alright? Yeah, so let's get into it. So guys, Deepwater Horizon is based on a true story account of the 2010 Gulf oil spill. Now that was a thing that broke news big in 2010. I remember back in 2010 when that story broke. It was a big story. Everybody was talking about it for weeks, and it was really serious. The amount of pollution, it is widely regarded as the most the biggest man-made natural disaster of all time. I believe that is just how serious this incident was. But guys, basically, this whole event of the Gulf oil spill is told from the perspective of one of the miners, or one of the crewmen, working on the Deepwater Horizon rig, and he's played by Mark Wahlberg in this movie. He's a family man. He ships out for 3 weeks to do his duty on to do his job on the Deepwater Horizon rig. And of course, corporate greed and the desire for wealth and money, because money, comes into play, involving BP. And boom, we have a giant explosion. We got mud, debris flying all over the place. People are dying, getting blown up and stuff. It's really bad, it's really hectic, and Mark Wahlberg has to find a way to get off this vessel before, there's no hope. And it becomes a survival story. So guys, that, my friends, is essentially the premise behind Deepwater Horizon. And as I just summed it up, that sounds like a really fascinating story. And again, I could imagine what it was like for the crewmen the night that Deepwater Horizon blew up and all of the engines started malfunctioning, the pressure buildup and everything when they were conducting their tests. And I can't imagine how crazy and hectic it must have been for them. And to see a live action portrayal of it on the big screen, I definitely was intrigued for. As I said earlier, guys, I was like skeptical, but I was still excited because the trailer did grab me, even though there were elements of it that did feel a little generic. And I can say off the bat that there are aspects of this movie that does make it feel like your standard survival story. You know, you have a main character, he's a father, you set up the fact that he has a family back home who obviously wants him to come home. You set up the fact that there is some antagonist who is driving the story forward and causing conflict amongst the characters. In this case, it's the corporate greed of BP, specifically John Malkovich in this movie. And so it does trickle into familiar territory with these types of movies. However, it never feels like a direct ripoff or like every single moment is a direct cliche of these types of movies. I actually pretty enjoyed Deepwater Horizon for what this movie was. I had not only, I don't even want to say I had fun with this movie, because I'll be honest with you, after I watched it, after I got out of the theater, I was rushing to go do something else. I had a busy day and you know, things to do for my own work, okay, when I got out of the movie. But at the same time, I just felt really, like, not disgusted, I felt really empty. You know, that's the feeling that I guess I would describe this film left on me. I felt really empty and kind of ashamed at the fact that this incident actually happened, and there were people on this vessel who were so greedy and so persistent that they drove the crewmen and the people in charge to go forward with the tests and go forward with digging up the oil and everything, that it caused this massive outburst and the most disastrous man-made natural disaster of all time. That just made me feel really empty and ashamed for humanity. And the film, I think, did a very good job of portraying all of those aspects. Yes, I really enjoyed Deepwater Horizon. This is a really gripping, thoroughly engaging account of this disaster. If you are not on the edge of your seat for, I would say, from about maybe an hour into the movie, because the first 45 minutes or so, we're setting up Mark Wahlberg's character, we're setting up the conflict with the BP guys, and Kurt Russell's character, who is essentially the head of the oil rig. And we're setting up this conflict between the two, but once the explosions happen, once the engines start failing, and everything just, all the shit hits the fan, I was into this movie. I was thoroughly gripping my seat. I was like, I legitimately do not know what is going to happen, who is going to get out of this, and if I start seeing certain characters get killed off, like, I am going to feel really, really terrible about all this, because I did not research into how many lives were lost. I didn't know about it. I just knew about this event, and I knew that obviously some people must have died, but I didn't do any research into who specifically perished or who specifically was involved. I didn't want to know anything, and I think it definitely feels a lot more welcoming and a lot more rewarding to not know much going into this movie. So I definitely have to commend Peter Berg and the filmmakers for not only doing for bringing a very hectic portrayal of a hectic, tense portrayal of this scenario, but also very, very respectfully paying tribute to people who lost their lives as a result of this, and everyone just in general who is affected by this crisis. So job well done. I think that's something Peter Berg has done very well over the years, like lately with Lone Survivor. I think he did a very good job of paying tribute to the victims of that incident, and I can say the same for this. So yes, I think in terms of his execution and the way he shoots a scene and the way that the scenes are chopped up and just the overall way that the scenes are shot, very handheld, to really put me in the thick of the action and really make me feel even more like distraught and like tensed up. I really, really bought into it, and I have to absolutely commend him for that. I thought he did a great job. In terms of the cast, I want to get into them really quick, and the characters specifically. Obviously, this film is told from Mark Wahlberg's perspective, and that's fine. And I think that for this type of movie, they did a good job. Because when I saw the trailers and I saw him with Kate Hudson in bed, I was like, okay, that's going to be so cliched. I'm not going to give a crap about them because I've just seen that a billion times before. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. The first scene with Mark Wahlberg and Kate Hudson, I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. I 100% bought their chemistry. I 100% bought them as a couple. It felt really romantic, and it felt really like they definitely had a great deal of passion for each other. And there's literally a scene later that I think that continues on with the arrival of the young daughter character, and I thought that really, really worked. I thought Mark Wahlberg was great. He is definitely the only character who doesn't feel one note for me throughout most of the movie, and that is a really good thing. Wahlberg in general is just a great actor, so there you go. Yeah, Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg worked very, very well together. They did it in Lone Survivor. The Lone Survivor I probably like a little bit more than this, but this is definitely a great effort from both of them and a great collaboration. I can't wait to see what they do next. Speaking of, the trailer for Patriots Day was shown before this movie. Quick side note. I cannot wait for that movie. I am so excited. It is probably in my number 2 right now for most anticipated for the rest of the year. The trailer was debuted before this movie started. The fact that they're teaming up again, this is Peter Berg's 2nd movie of the year. I'm so pumped. I can't wait for that. But anyway, Mark Wahlberg is great. The cast as a whole, I think, is great. I think Kurt Russell's great. It's good to see him in more movies. He was just in The Hateful Eight. Great to see him in this as well. A very seasoned veteran actor who I think is really capable of maintaining a great scene and a really convincing performance as essentially the head of Deepwater Horizon. Gina Rodriguez I thought was pretty good. And I also really liked Dylan O'Brien and even John Malkovich for being an asshole. I thought it worked. I hated the guy. It worked. Good job, man. Oh, Dylan O'Brien. I hope he gets better because not the best year for him. He was on that big accident on the Maze Runner 2 set. Ugh, but he must have done this movie before. Anyway, that's not the point. So the cast is great. For the most part, I really felt for Wahlberg's character, maybe Gina Rodriguez's character. I wanted to care more about Kurt Russell's character, but I feel like we didn't get a scene. I get the idea that he's really esteemed and beloved by the crew, and they hit that over the head very well. Not too much, but, just a perfect amount. But I didn't get anything with him before he steps foot on Deepwater Horizon. I just didn't get anything for him. Anything that made him feel a little bit more human. He fell a little flat for me as a character. Not as an actor. As a character, yes. I wanted more from that character. But other than that, I thought all the other characters worked very well for me. So yeah, just getting back to Peter Berg's direction, I think the execution is flawless. The camera work is great. The special effects, because I'm assuming about 90% of this movie is that fire and all that. Yeah, I doubt that was practical. If they were really running through flames and shit, then I commend you. But I commend your actors. I commend all of this. Okay, I haven't looked into that. Quite frankly, right now, I don't want to know whether it was practical. I like not knowing and trying to figure it out on my own and then looking it up later when I just give up. So there you go. That's why I don't know. But any CGI that was used, any special effects for the fire, if they did use it was gorgeous. I 100% felt like I was on this rig, in the thick of the action, in the intensity and everything. I felt like the heat of the flames and everything. I was like sitting in the seat and I'm like, oh boy, this is a lot to take in. That was great. The pacing is good. I love the ending. I love how it doesn't feel overly hokey or over the top, sentimental. Oh, you got to care for these characters, blah, blah, blah. I totally thought they were going to end it one certain way. But they did it without using dialogue, and that is what I really, really liked about it. For the most part, there's one scene, I don't want to spoil it, but characters meet up with other characters, and there's no dialogue used for the most part. It's literally just action, okay? That's all I'm going to say. And something is set up very early on in the film. It's set up in the trailers as well. I don't want to say what it is. And I really thought there was just going to be a scene that used dialogue to resolve this thing that was set up. But they didn't. They used action. They used a shot that was very far away from the actors, and a wide shot, and I really loved it. I just thought it was a beautiful ending because I totally didn't expect it, and it felt real and natural to me, which is what I wanted it to feel. So good job, movie. Yeah, so I ultimately was really engaged in this movie, guys. The screenplay and just overall just the action of this moment, the intensity is what really drew me into it and made me enjoy it as much as I did. I felt really excited. I felt it was really gripping and it felt really authentic and gritty. Obviously, all the makeup that they did for like oil stains on people and blood and everything was really, really good as well. And just the overall excitement of everything is what really hooked me into this movie. It felt really gripping and it felt like a very standard survival story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. The stakes were there, the tension was real, the acting is great, and that's ultimately why I love Deepwater Horizon as much as I did. However, I do not feel this film is flawless, but I did enjoy it a lot more than maybe another biopic like Sully we got a few weeks ago, which I thought fell short. Deepwater Horizon I felt landed a bit better for me and worked a bit more overall. But what again feels a little short for this movie, fell a little short for this movie for me. Like I said, a few characters do feel a little one-dimensional, like Kurt Russell's character. That's more of a minor thing with me. It's just, I really cared about Wahlberg and Kate. I thought Kate Hudson and his relationship with her, I thought that was great. But moving on, a few other things that didn't work. I honestly wanted even more intensity on the rig. Like, I get that maybe in real life, like, the response to save these people was really quick, but I think to maybe even drag it out and make it feel even more uncomfortable and hectic, I would have added another 5 minutes to that scene right there. So that was me. There are a few, like, familiar territories the movie goes into. The antagonist, you could say, is a little over the top. Like, oh, I've seen that type of character before in movies like this. You could say that. Yeah, I kind of felt that a little bit. And one other thing that bugged me is the way the film opens. And Peter Berg also did this with Lone Survivor. I think he should stop doing this. But he opens the film and it basically reveals what happens to certain characters come the end of the film. He did that with Lone Survivor, and he did that with this, and he just used audio, and I think, honestly, that should have just been cut out completely, because I didn't want to know. So I knew for the most part what was going to happen, even though I was still a little unsure, but I was like, okay, I'm about 80% sure I know what happens at the end of this movie now, because that audio was used. And I get it's based on a true account story, but in terms of being a narrative, I would have just kept it and not used that audio in the beginning. That said, guys, I had a blast with Deepwater Horizon. It was intense. It was thrilling. It left me really affected and empty come the end of the film. The cast is great. The writing is really good. It says a lot of really good things about corporate greed and just, yeah, just how that makes you feel disgusted. And it really pays respect to everybody who was involved in this disaster. And that's one thing I have to absolutely pay tribute to. Peter Berg does a very good job of that. I can't wait for Patriots Day. Guys, that said, I am going to give Deepwater Horizon a solid grade of a 9 out of 10 or an A-. I would definitely recommend a viewing this weekend if you guys get a chance to see it. Definitely go check it out if you can. And if you did already see it, or if you will, after you see it, let me know what you thought of the movie down below in the comments. And yeah, there you have it, guys. Thank you, as always, so much for watching, guys. And I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye, guys.